So I'm at the range on a sunny day. Just gonna test fire the Kar98k, see if the barrel will shoot before I do too much more with buying reloading supplies or anything like that for the rifle, as plinking with some other stuff to get started. It's sunny out today, about 90, bright sun, so I set up the sunshade. And sometimes you get lucky too. I went down range to change targets and I found a whole bunch of nice brass S&B 7.62x39. I found 16 of them. And then it was troubling because I'm like, these come in a box of 20. There's 4 more. So I found them. I got all 20 of them. So I'll throw these in the box over here for later. And we'll get started with the Kar98. I showed this in a video a few days ago. I had to replace the rear base. It had an incorrect rear base on it. It had a number 55, I think it is, rather than the 45 that it should have. So the rear mount was much too low. It was basically set up for how it would work with a small ring Mauser. Same front base, more or less, you know, lower down on the small ring, you know, but when it's up high on this large ring Mauser, you got to have that taller rear. So I took care of that, a little bit of aluminum work to get that to fit, and I mounted this old M8 4-power loophole on there. I bore sighted it at home in the basement, but I'll go ahead and slip the bolt out of it here, take a look at the target, make sure that things are centered up. We'll start at 25 yards and see if we can get it on paper, and then go for whatever seems to be appropriate after that. So I'll be right back with you after I get it bore sighted. Okay, there we go. I think that's a good enough place to start. Set our caps off to the side, the bolt back in. Okay, so for those of you that didn't see this rifle in the other video, this is a Kar98k 1940. It's a 337. Those of you that know about German Mausers will know what all the markings and whatnot mean. It has the eagles on it. It's a shame that the rifle was sporterized because the numbers match on everything except for the cocking piece, and I think it was the firing pin. Guessing those were replaced probably, maybe even at the time where they put the Timney trigger in it. Maybe they put the new cocking piece in there to get a fresh sear or something. I don't know. Say it's a heartbreaker that the rifle's been sporterized, because other than that, it's in pretty decent shape. It's been drilled for the bases on the top, standard Weaver bases. It's been drilled on the side of the rear receiver ring for a peep sight. So it'll be a decent toy to play with. It doesn't have any collectability anymore, so it'll be fun to play with. And also the bolt's been turned down to clear, and then it has a Bueller wing safety on it here, the 2-position safety to clear the scope. And like I said, I put this Mark 8 fixed 4-power loophole on there just to get started. We'll see if the rifle shoots. The barrel has some frostiness to it. It's not horrible. I've shot worse. I've shot a lot better. You know, and looking at it, it's, you know, it's got decent looking rifling in it, but it's you know, I wouldn't call it a pristine bore by any stretch of the imagination. So if it shoots, we got lucky. I didn't pay much money for this rifle. I figured that if nothing else, the trigger and the working receiver, assuming it works, is going to be worth what I paid for it. So we'll put some shots on the target here at 25 and see what it does. The ammo I'm going to try today is surplus ammo. And the reason I'm doing this is I figured I might as well try something inexpensive before I spend money on dies and components to load for a rifle that I don't know if it'll shoot. This is the only 8mm Mauser that I have. It's the only 8x57. So this ammo is, it took me, you know, I had to do some Googling to figure out what it is. This was given to me along with some other things that I purchased, and this is surplus 8 Mauser. And if you look at the head stamp on it, it just says 7.92 mm for millimeter, and in the year 44. And I did some research on this, and it turns out that this stuff is really well documented in the surplus market. It was made by Dominion in Canada, from what I can tell, and it's non-corrosive. So that is a great thing. I've read that the brass is pretty decent for reloading, that it may be a little brittle. Good idea to anneal it before I do anything with it. But I figure, you know, I've got 2 packages of this. This package was already opened when I got it. The other package is not opened, and there's 40 in each package, so this should certainly be a good start to 8mm Mauser if we choose to reload it. I found all kinds of legend and lore regarding this ammo as to it being contracted by the United States, as to it's really not 1944 or whatever head stamp it may be, that there was some reasons that they marked them the way they marked them. I don't know how much of it's true, how much of it's gun lore over time. We know there's a lot of gun lore out there. So, but we'll run some of these. Like I said, I have not shot this rifle yet. The headspace looks good on it from what I can tell. It locks up tight. Everything seems okay on it. The only fault I found with the rifle so far was that it had that incorrect rear base on it, but I've taken care of that. So I think that here at 25 yards, we'll put a few down range and see what we come up with. I still have to set up the bags and stuff to see, get a good sight picture and whatnot, but I'll stop the video here for a minute while I set the bags up and get things ready, and then I'll ring back in when it's time to shoot. Okay, I got the bags all set up. We're at 25 yards, Kar98k, Dominion surplus 8x57 ammo. First shots from the rifle. We'll see how it does at 25 yards. This target does have some holes in it already, but they are 6mm holes. It was my sighter target from a 300-yard match 2 weeks ago, where I was shooting my 6x45. This was my practice target, and I had never shot the rifle at 300 yards, so the center of the target's not torn up. It required some adjustment, but it'll work fine for sighting in this 8x57, seeing how it runs. Once again, it's a 337 Kar98k 1940 sporterized. We'll see how it does here with the first shots at 25 yards. These are my first 8x57 rounds ever. My first German Mauser shooting ever. Not a bad shot. It's pretty good windage and just a little bit high. Let's take a look at that brass. Looks fine to me. Good primer hit. Nothing too screwy. When I get home, I'll compare some of the new rounds to the fired ones and check the headspace, you know, how much it grew. Gives you a good indication of the chamber's health. Can see that it defined the shoulder a little bit from the fire forming. It must have a relatively tight throat. That doesn't quite slip right down to the other one. All right, well, we made it through one round. Let's try another, see what happens. The perceived recoil was pleasant. It had there was some recoil there, but it had a interesting feel to it. I don't know what the powder is like that they put in these surplus rounds, but it was not unpleasant at all. Okay, that's next to the other shot, so it's trying to group, which is good. But then again, we're only at 25 yards. Like I said, it's a fixed 4-power loop-holed scope. But yeah, those two shots are probably within an inch of each other. Like I said, those are the first two out of the rifle, so let's run another. As a matter of fact, let's put the last 3 in the magazine and see how it feeds from the magazine. It seemed to be pretty smooth there. This stock is not exactly optimal for shooting with a scope or off the bench. I've got a little bit of a foam riser on here to get a little cheek weld. I can't lower the scope anymore because it won't clear the bolt handle, so you're kind of stuck with this this much scope elevation with a 40 millimeter objective on the scope. A straight tube would be good, you know, if you're only going to shoot at short range. If you could find something with a smaller bell on the scope and you could lower it down a little bit, but you just don't have clearance for the bolt back here, even with it turned down. That's touching shot number 2, so it is grouping. That makes me happy. But then, once again, the caveat is we're only at 25 yards today. I don't see anything to worry about with the brass. No strange marks on it. That one came up a little bit. That may have been me. It's still right in the group, but it's a little higher. All right, let's run this one and see what we get. I think I wasn't holding that as tight. I've been holding onto the rifle pretty good. I didn't know what to expect recoil-wise, so I was clamping down on it pretty good. That shot I was a little bit more relaxed, and I think that that's probably why it shot higher. I didn't have it yanked in as hard. This time I'll hold on to it tight again. And that's right in the group as well. So far, so good. It might be worthy of moving back. Like I said, that's the first rounds I've shot out of it. It's this Dominion Surplus, supposedly non-corrosive. I'll clean the rifle good when I get home anyway, just in case. Well, here's our target with the first 5 shots from the Kar98k. Right there, so we're a little high and right. Not bad. These other holes down here, those are 6 millimeter from sighting in a couple days ago, but I don't think this is too disappointing for a rifle I just picked up for a real cheap price and threw a scope on. I think it's worthy of moving back a little farther and seeing what it'll do with some distance. I say this is that Dominion Surplus ammo out of a standard Kar98k that's been sporterized, the first 5 shots, and we'll adjust from here.